Hi everybody, this is Ryan Moseley with NP Dodge here in Omaha, and as usual I'm here with
Alex Drake with Lincoln Federal Savings Bank.
And this week we're here at Cunningham's in Blackstone District with Derek.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good, how you doing?
Good, good. We're going to get to the market stats and other conversations shortly, but I want to talk a little bit with Derek first, hear about the location here. This is a little bit newer location, isn't it?
Yeah, we've been open for just over a year now.
Okay. And how's it going here?
It's kind of turbulent, I guess you might say. A little up and down, depending on road closures and things like that. Now they've got the parking garage completed. It's been a good thing for the district, adding a lot of parking.
Good, good.
I was pleasantly surprised. I haven't been down here since the parking garage was open. I was worried about finding parking this morning, but parking garage is great.
Yeah, it's very convenient. I mean, it's right across the street from us. You can walk from the parking garage to everything in Blackstone. So, I know when we used to come down here, that where the parking garage is located was a parking lot.
Yeah.
And then when that went away, we quit coming down here as often, and now they've got a huge parking garage. So it's great.
Yeah.
And there's a ton of revitalization going on in this area. So, any sort of timeline that you guys have been given on when there will be less road closures for you?
Well, it's going to kind of go in waves. We just had a meeting a couple weeks ago, so it sounds like they're doing it in chunks. So like the streets just, where are we at, 38th to I think 34th Street are going to be down to one lane for about 5 months, and then that'll shift and get them from 38th to 40th, where it'll be one lane for about 5 months. And then once they get that done, they'll shift gears and go back to the highway and then work their way back and lay the tracks for the train. But there'll be continuous traffic. I mean, they'll have a lane open the whole time. So, and everything, the 38th Street that access to the parking garage will be available the whole time. Sidewalks will be open, so you'll still be able to get to all the businesses down here for sure.
So you guys are looking forward to that streetcar getting opened up then?
Yeah, it'll be, once they get the major parts of the construction done, it'll be nice. Just to be done with the random road closures.
Right. As we're taping this, it's the week of College World Series. Have you guys seen a whole lot of uptick in business with that?
Yeah, we had a great weekend. Saturday and Sunday were very good. Our Old Mill location saw a little uptick. Out west, I think there's a little less impact. Mm-hmm. But Blackstone still gets a little bit in from the World Series, people that are staying in the hotels, walking around looking for things to do, that type of thing.
Okay.
Are you guys doing any different specials here at the Blackstone District location than you do at Old Mill?
No, it's very similar. We run the same specials, same happy hour all day on Sundays. This area is a little bit more nightlife-ish, so we pick up a little bit later here. Mm-hmm. Old Mill is more centered around lunch and happy hour, but we are developing a very good lunch crowd. So nice. It's just a work in progress.
And I'm seeing on the board behind you, you guys host private events here. How much of this place can you rent out?
So we've got 2 rooms. We've got this space up here, and that's what the curtains are for on the wall. Mm-hmm. So this space we can split off, and we get groups up to 70 in here. Okay. Then we've got a smaller room in the back that'll seat up to 30 comfortably. Okay. And we're doing a couple parties a week down here. Our Old Mill location, we do average about 4 a week out there.
And you have a pretty big room out there.
Yes, our party room in Old Mill will seat 80. But we can have cocktail events up to 100, so it's a very large space.
Yeah, we've hosted an event at that one. Your guys' catering menu is phenomenal, but let's look at your regular menu. What are your best sellers? What's your favorite thing on the menu?
Well, I still love our wings. Our wings do very well. Honestly, we kind of have a good mix. We sell a lot of hamburgers. Our crispy chicken sandwiches do really well. Mm-hmm. Crispy chicken is in. And then wings. It's hard to tell. We've got, when you look over the numbers, it's nice to see kind of an even spread among things. So it's nice. We don't have any one item that just kind of dwarfs everything else. Our daily specials do really well. Monday and Tuesday out west, we do a prime rib French dip that it's 30% of our sales for the day. Every Monday and Tuesday, people just love that sandwich, and we see a nice big lift from each one of our daily specials.
Nice.
So that's one, I guess, that really sticks out.
Okay.
I'm a sucker for the hot Irish mess burger. That one takes the cake for me.
I'm always surprised at how many of those we sell, because it's huge.
And it's messy.
And it's messy. And we did that as a special. We did that before St. Patrick's Day as like a special, just to kind of lead in, and it was a huge hit. And then we decided to do it on St. Patrick's Day, and then we're like, whatever, we'll just do it all the time.
You know, I had that in front of my wife when we were dating, and if she didn't leave me after watching me try and eat that thing, she wasn't ever going to leave
She's
me.
a keeper.
Yeah.
She's a keeper.
That and wings is not good for a first date.
Yeah,
so.
for sure.
And the wings would be my favorite by far. I'm a big wing guy, so.
Yeah, we pay, a lot of detail goes into the wings. I mean, they're marinated, and then we rub them and smoke them. So it's a process. And then all of our sauces are still made in house. We've got one that we don't make in house, and that's just because it's just not something that but all the other sauces we make here.
Did you guys recently roll out a newer sauce?
We did a peach bourbon. The last 2 weeks we've been featuring a peach bourbon sauce, and then we did the buff parmesan, and then the garlic parmesan. We had a lot of people asking for garlic parmesan wings, so we decided to try it out. We're working on a new, we're going to call it the Nebraska wing. Okay. So you'll have to watch for that to come out on Facebook.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'll be a spicy, instead of Nebraska nice, it'll be Nebraska spice chicken wing. So that's in the works. Actually, I'm going to be working on that tomorrow.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. All right, real quick here, market statistics for Omaha this would be, what month is it, June? This would be May's statistics. Pending listings are up 9%, which is pretty huge gain. We also see an increase in the median sales price is sitting about $309,000. The home inventory, the new homes versus existing homes, we're starting to see more inventory on the existing homes. We're not having that hyper competitive, at least I'm not seeing the hyper competitiveness. It's still obviously, you got to look and you got to be ready to pull the trigger. But with existing homes, it's starting to be a little more easy, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I think from where I sit in the transaction and what I see, it is definitely more of a neutral market. But a lot of it is zip code driven. I had this conversation with another agent 2 weeks ago. You know, we have a couple of zip codes in town where days on market for existing homes are half of the national average, and the agreed upon sales price is higher than the list price. But I've worked a handful of transactions this year where my buyers have gotten very large seller credits where they were able to significantly buy down the rate. So it's a mixed bag. Omaha is different from the rest of the country, and we've talked about this a lot, right? Like, we're kind of insulated from things that we see negatively across the economy, but even within Omaha, our zip codes can be so different in the way that real estate market is humming along. So as always, my advice is to work with somebody who knows the market. So
yep. What about rates? What are you seeing for rates right now?
Rates have been very volatile the last month and a half. Now they seem to, when they shoot up, they seem to come back and settle back down to where they were within about 2 weeks, and then when they're down, they seem to shoot back up and settle where they were within a few days. So I'll tell you this, if your loan officer, if you're floating a rate and your loan officer's calling you and telling you, hey, we should probably lock this rate, my advice is to listen. Very rarely do you win that game when somebody's telling you you should do it and you wait it out. But interesting, I think as things continue to play out in the Middle East and more of these trade agreements are signed, I think we see a little less volatility in the market. It's gotten to the point now where there's some big headlines hitting the news, the airwaves, and they're not even affecting the markets anymore. So I think the markets themselves have kind of grown immune to shock either way.
Is that a good or a bad thing? There's just so much shock that all of a sudden we're immune to it.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. because for the last 5 years, data hasn't really mattered in terms of what rates are doing and what they should do. But at the same time, when somebody who's not involved in any policy, like the CEO of JP Morgan is out talking and his word can completely flip the market, I don't think that's a good thing either. So I would probably lean a little bit of immunity is probably a good thing and just let things play out the way they're supposed to.
Okay. I have a client who told me 2 days ago, actually, she's like, well, I want to wait till it's 5% before I start looking for homes again. And I'm like, well, you know, in that meantime, that price of that home is going to increase, 5 or 10%. So
100%. So I did a cost analysis for a client. They were looking to buy a house that had sold 3 years prior, and it was at 2 years prior. I'm sorry. So 2 years prior was at 5.5% interest rate. They wanted to wait, and now at 6.5 today. Not only are you paying more principal and interest, but you're paying a significantly higher price for that house. And I reworked the numbers the other way. If she would have bought it today and the house continued to appreciate at the same rate and she could get it at 5% 2 years later, her payment at 5.5% 2 years later is still going to be higher. So if you can afford to get into a house, I don't think it's a bad time.
Right. Waiting is not going to necessarily make anything easier.
No, it usually makes it worse.
Right. And as we saw before, once it gets to 5% again, everyone's going to be trying to buy a house.
100%.
Another thing that came up in the news that I want to talk a little bit about is the advances in AI and how things keep escalating, and it's a really neat tool for how it can make everyone's life easier, but then there are also predictions on whose life is going to change dramatically because they don't have a job anymore. And we're already starting to see that. I have one client who works in
creation, online creation.
That's what I'm looking for. Content creation. Thank you for helping.
Yeah.
And she said half their staff is gone now because AI can do that quite efficiently. I've used AI myself just with some posts and whatnot. Do you use it much for?
I use AI every day.
Right.
Every day. The mortgage industry has been integrating AI for a long time. Now, the one thing I always tell people is AI is only as good as the inputs as of today, right? So bad inputs means bad outcome.
Right.
And at my last institution, you used to be able to get an automated pre-qualification letter after you filled out your app if the numbers checked out. I still to this day tell all my clients, now even though it doesn't happen with me, but it can happen with another lender, if you get a pre-qualification letter before you talk to the lender, throw it away. The amount of times I had clients add an extra 0 to their income, which drastically changes the application, is alarming. And even now, we have a new AI software that we've added at our bank that will sort all the documents that the client uploads. It'll sort them all, put them where they need to go in the file, but it also helps with income calculations. It is not perfect by any means, so I'm still doing all my hand calculations for my clients. I will use it on some trickier borrowers to sort my documents and make it a little bit easier with the tax returns and things like that. But at the end of the day, specifically in real estate, I think clients are leaning back to more wanting that relationship and wanting to talk to somebody.
And I don't think that's going to change. Like, even on my side, I can put out a home valuation using AI. Got to double check it though to make sure it's realistic and it has good data behind it.
Yeah.
But there's tools that can make our jobs easier, but people aren't going to just trust to put their home purchase over, in the hands of AI.
Yeah, 100%.
I think your point about the data is the biggest. One little entry error and all of a sudden the computer is just calculating. I mean, it's just an extremely smart computer, but if you give it the wrong information, it's going to give you wrong answers back no matter what.
Yeah.
It can't look at it and be like, well, you clearly added another 0 here to your income.
Right.
So, and the trust factor also. Yeah. I mean, it may be a couple generations before people just blindly trust.
Now, are you guys using AI at all for your business?
Well, I mean, this sounds, I mean, it's in the most simplistic ways, like even for like internet searches, silly things like trying to find the channel that a sporting event's on used to be like every
That was
website,
tough.
they wanted you to click on their link, so then you would have to read 3 paragraphs before
Right.
you got, and now with the AI, it just summarizes, this is the channel. And I remember when I updated my phone, and I'm like, if this is the farthest it gets, this is a huge win. It just saved me hours, of hunting for stuff. But little things like that. We just started with a marketing company. 1123 is doing some of our online marketing and their utilization. But one of the things that blew my mind is they used a AI meeting tracker, and we had a meeting. It was about an hour long, and he said, Dave's like, well, you'll see an email in your inbox with bullet points about everything we talked about. And as soon as we hung up the call, like 2 minutes later, I got an email from him with just everything we had talked about, broken into categories that knew exactly when we had changed subjects, and I'm like,
And you can interact with that too, and find pieces in there and have AI help you with that too.
so I think things like that, day-to-day things, but there's still big things that are a little bit,
Decision making.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about coming up with a new sauce, the Nebraska sauce or whatever, is that something you would turn over to AI at some point? Give me a recipe for,
I would not.
XYZ.
So if AI is generating all of its data for like recipes,
Right.
if it's looking on the internet, I wouldn't. My wife she'll make dinner, especially when it comes to baking or whatever, like, oh, this thing didn't turn out, and you look at the recipe and it's clearly inaccurate, and there's just so much like recipes, little things like that are just inaccurate. And I don't know if you guys have ever looked up something simple like the best product to use or whatever. It's all tainted with marketing.
Yep.
So to trust AI, be like, hey, I want this sauce to taste like this, and this is the what I would like the base to be. Find me a recipe, and then to get something back that's actually, I don't think it's quite there yet. Because again, it doesn't know like, hey, this one recipe that was wrong, like way too much salt or whatever, is heavily skewing
there's so much
their
subtle
data.
nuance to a flavor and what goes into it, and the experience of the flavor that AI isn't gonna be able to figure out anything.
And half the fun, on the recipe side, in my opinion, half the fun is the experimentation anyways.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it can be. We were working on making our chicken just a little bit crispier. Like we already had great, but I wanted to get it a little bit further. And after sampling like 40 different recipes, I was tired of fried. Like the fact that you could get tired of fried chicken. But yeah, I think AI is one of the best ways that I heard it put is that it's just a really fast search engine at this point. I mean, it's not really artificial intelligence. It's not thinking. It's just able to take all of the data and then summarize it or put it together. It's just a huge search engine.
And I mean, I tell people all the time too, I use ChatGPT every day, but I still have to double check ChatGPT's work half the time because I'm getting into some pretty nuanced stuff with it, and I'll read what it spits back out at me. I'm like, that's not right. So there's just some things you got to be careful of with the AI, which is why I think it'll be really hard to replace the relationship part of the transaction.
Right.
We are seeing AI appraisals a lot more in real estate. They're not mainstream yet, but they will be, which again, I think there's going to be some problems with that because you're not going to have licensed appraisers out there inputting the data.
Right.
They're just it's going to be somebody out there taking pictures and maybe putting data in wrong, and that could screw up the transaction.
As long as
a lot.
there's somebody there though to review the answers that AI is putting out, it can be a useful tool. But I think some people will just get very overly dependent on it and just assume that AI knows everything.
AI can definitely make you lazy.
Yeah.
That is for sure.
And I think it's, again, like for me, the trust. But I mean, we are still from a generation that didn't have smartphones.
Right.
And, I mean, I still remember a time before there was a phone that you could take with you. And if you would have told me back then, like, hey, you'll have this thing where you can type in an address and just drive there, you know, even when that came out, I still, every time we used our TomTom back, I'd still
TomTom,
check
yeah.
the route to make sure, you know, that it was right. And now, you
But
don't
we
even think
printed
twice
off
about
MapQuest.
Yeah, true that. Yeah, that was a thing.
I remember calling my parents on the payphone at the school to come pick me up from practice, so.
I was with my sons at a campground and they saw a payphone and they're like, "What's that, Daddy?"
What's that?
And I was like, "That's ancient history. That's a relic from another time."
The payphone to my son will be like what the rotary phones are to me. I have no idea how to dial a rotary phone.
All right, well, we've established that we're old today, so
Not that old.
not
We're just not that
old,
young.
not that old.
We're not that young.
I didn't know the conversation was going there today, but if you have questions for me or Alex about real estate, or if you have questions about Cunningham's, Derek's here for that. I'll put contact information and websites in the comments down below in the video description. And where are we going to go next month?
Wherever the wind takes us, we'll
Wherever
find
the
one.
wind takes us. Yes.
If you want to be featured and have us come sit down
Yeah.
at your restaurant or your place of business, shoot us an email or a text. We'd love to come hang out.
Yep, definitely. All right, so we'll see you next time.